The mining drills screamed against the rocky surface of Kepler 442b as Captain Elena Vasquez wiped sweat from her forehead. The red sun hung low in the alien sky, casting long shadows across the mining site. Her human crew worked alongside the tall, blue-skinned Zephyrians who supervised the operation with cold efficiency. "Faster, humans," barked Supervisor Krell, his forearms gesturing impatiently. "The quota must be met before the next solar cycle." Elena bit back her response. The Zephyrians always demanded more while doing less actual work. They claimed their advanced technology and superior intellect made them natural leaders. Meanwhile, humans did the dangerous underground mining because they were expendable and adaptable to harsh conditions. "Yes, sir," Elena replied, keeping her voice steady. She had learned long ago that arguing with the Zephyrians only made things worse for her crew. The mining complex stretched across several kilometers of barren landscape. Humans lived in basic metal shelters, while the Zephyrians enjoyed climate-controlled facilities with their advanced technology. The arrangement worked, barely, because humans needed the job, and the Zephyrians needed workers willing to go places their delicate bodies could not survive. Elena's radio crackled to life. "Captain, we've got a problem," came the voice of Rodriguez, her second-in-command. "Solar flare warning just came through, it's a big one." Elena looked up at the red sun, which appeared normal to her eyes, but she trusted the instruments. Solar flares on this planet could be deadly, especially the electromagnetic kind that fried electronics. "How long do we have?" she asked into her radio. "Maybe 20 minutes. All electronic systems need to be shut down immediately." Elena started running toward the Zephyrian command center. The aliens were gathered around their advanced control panels, their faces showing the first signs of worry she had ever seen from them. Commander Thexhai, the highest-ranking Zephyrian on the planet, stood in the center of the room. His tall frame and multiple arms made him look even more imposing than usual. Unlike the other Zephyrians, Thexhai had always treated humans with something approaching respect, though he still considered them inferior. "Commander," Elena called out as she entered, "we need to shut down all systems now. The solar flare will hit in 15 minutes. Thexhai's large eyes focused on her. "Impossible. We have a survey team in the deep tunnels. If we shut down now, they will be trapped without communication or life support." Elena felt her heart sink. 12 Zephyrians were exploring the deepest part of the mine, looking for rare minerals. The tunnels down there were unstable even on good days. "Can we evacuate them in time?" she asked. "Negative. They are 6 hours deep, and the emergency lifts take 4 hours minimum to reach them." Thexhai's voice carried a note of despair that Elena had never heard from a Zephyrian before. The solar flare hit right on schedule. Every piece of advanced Zephyrian technology died instantly. Lights went out, computers shut down, and the climate control system stopped working. Emergency battery systems lasted only minutes before they too failed. In the sudden darkness, Elena heard something that chilled her blood. A deep rumbling sound came from beneath their feet, followed by a series of sharp cracks. "The tunnels are collapsing," she whispered. The Zephyrians stood frozen in shock. Their technology was everything to them. Without it, they seemed lost and helpless. Elena realized that for all their advanced knowledge, they had never learned to work without their machines. "Rodriguez," Elena called out in the darkness. "Get Martinez, Chen, and Williams. Bring the manual equipment from Storage Bay 3. "Captain, what are you doing?" Thexhai asked. "We're going to get your people out." "That is impossible. Without our technology, there is no way to reach them safely. The tunnels are collapsing and we have no communication." Elena found a flashlight that still worked and turned it on. "We don't need your fancy technology. We have hands, basic tools, and experience with dangerous mines. My people have been working in places like this since before we ever met you." She gathered her crew quickly. Rodriguez, a former coal miner from Earth. Martinez, who had worked oil rigs on dangerous worlds. Chen, whose family had been miners for generations. Williams, young but fearless and strong. "Listen up," Elena told them. 12 Zephyrians are trapped down there, the tunnels are collapsing, and we're the only ones who can help them." "Captain," Rodriguez said quietly, "those tunnels weren't safe even before the collapse. Going down there is suicide." Maybe, but we don't leave people behind. Ever. The next 3 days became a nightmare of manual labor and constant danger. Elena's team used old-fashioned mining techniques their grandfathers would have recognized. They dug with hand tools when the machines failed. They used wooden supports to hold up collapsing tunnels. They followed cave-in sounds and felt for air currents to find the trapped Zephyrians. The Zephyrians could only watch as the humans worked around the clock. Every few hours, more sections of the tunnel system would collapse, forcing Elena's team to find new routes. They worked by flashlight and candle flame, their lungs filling with dust, their hands bleeding from the rough work. On the second day, they heard voices. Weak calls for help coming from deep underground. Elena felt hope surge through her tired body. "We're coming!" she shouted into the darkness. "Hold on!" The final push took 18 straight hours. Elena and her team dug through tons of collapsed rock using nothing but shovels, pickaxes, and determination. When they finally broke through, to the trapped Zephyrians, Elena found Commander HFY badly injured but alive. "Why?" HFY whispered as Elena helped pull him from the rubble. His blue skin was pale, and one of his 4 arms hung useless at his side. "Why did you risk your lives for us?" Elena looked at the tall alien who had never shown her real respect before this moment. "We don't leave people behind. Ever." HFY's large eyes stared at her with something she had never seen there before. Respect, understanding, and something deeper. "I invoke the Velthara," he said, in a voice barely above a whisper. Elena didn't know what that meant, but she could tell it was important. The other surviving Zephyrians looked shocked at their commander's words. "What's Velthara?" Elena asked. "A blood debt," HFY explained, wincing as she helped him walk. "When someone saves your life at great risk to their own, you owe them. A debt that can only be repaid with your life if necessary. It is the highest honor in our culture." "You don't owe us anything," Elena said. "We did what anyone should do." "That is why the debt exists," HFY replied. "Because your people would say exactly that." All 12 trapped Zephyrians survived, though several were badly injured. Elena's team had worked for 3 days straight without advanced equipment, relying on human determination and old mining knowledge to achieve what the Zephyrians had declared impossible. As they reached the surface, HFY looked at Elena with new understanding. "I have lived for 200 of your years," he said. "I thought I understood what strength meant. I was wrong." Elena just nodded, too tired to respond. She had no idea that this moment would change the galaxy forever. She only knew that 12 beings were alive who might have died, and that was enough. The solar flare ended. The technology came back online and normal operations resumed. But something fundamental had changed in the relationship between the species. The Zephyrians began to look at humans differently, and HFY never forgot the debt he owed to the small human captain who had saved his life. 27 years had passed since the mining accident on Kepler 442b. Admiral Elena Vasquez now commanded the Earth Defense Fleet from her flagship, the UES Determination. Her hair had turned gray, and lines marked her face, but her eyes still held the same fierce determination that had driven her to save 12 alien lives all those years ago. The galaxy had changed dramatically. Humanity had joined the Galactic Council as a junior member, bringing their adaptability and resourcefulness to the cosmic community. The Zephyrian Collective had risen to become one of the most powerful civilizations in known space, with their advanced technology and military might feared across dozens of star systems. Commander HFY had become Supreme War Commander of by the Zephyrian forces. His blue skin now bore the scars of countless battles, and his missing arm had been replaced with an advanced cybernetic limb. But he had never forgotten the human captain who saved his life. Today, both Elena and HFY sat in the emergency session of the Galactic Council. The great chamber on Nexus Prime buzzed with panic and fear. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the curved rows of seats, their various forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes under the bright lights. The reason for their fear had a simple name: the Devourers. "The outer rim is gone," announced Council Speaker Zarin, a crystalline being whose body rang like a bell when he spoke. 17 star systems consumed in just 3 months. Nothing remains but empty space in their machines. Elena watched the holographic display showing the galaxy. Red markers indicated systems that had been completely consumed by the Devourers. The pattern was clear and terrifying. The machines were moving inward in a steady wave, consuming everything in their path. "How many ships have we lost?" asked Representative Cole of the Ethereal Consortium. "All of them," came the grim reply. "Every combined fleet sent against the Devourers has been destroyed or absorbed. Their technology adapts to our weapons within hours. Conventional warfare is useless against them. The Devourers were not a natural species. They were ancient machines, possibly millions of years old, that consumed matter to build more of themselves. Planets, ships, even stars. Everything became raw material for their endless growth. They had appeared at the galaxy's edge 6 months ago and had been consuming systems ever since. The hegemony suggests immediate evacuation of the core worlds," said the crystalline representative, his voice chiming with fear. "We should abandon the outer territories and focus on protecting what we can." "Coward," roared General Brutus of the Titan Republic. "We should mass every ship we have for one final assault." "With what result?" snapped Ambassador Silk of the Trade Federation. "Every assault has failed. These machines learn from our attacks and grow stronger." Elena listened to the arguments with growing frustration. Fear was making the council members think only of defense and retreat. She had seen this before in smaller conflicts. When people felt helpless, they either wanted to hide or throw everything into one desperate attack. "The Human Federation will commit all available forces to any coordinated defense," Elena announced when called upon to speak. Her words carried across the chamber, though several representatives looked skeptical. "Admiral Vasquez," Speaker Zarin said, "with respect, humanity contributes only 12% of the galaxy's total military force. Your bravery is noted, but this crisis requires solutions beyond courage alone." Elena felt the familiar sting of being dismissed as primitive and reckless. Even after 27 years, many species still saw humans as useful but limited allies. It was then that Thexhai rose from his seat. The chamber fell silent. The supreme war commander of the Zephyrian Collective rarely spoke in council sessions, but when he did, everyone listened. The Zephyrians controlled the most advanced military technology in the galaxy. "Council members," Thexhai began, his voice carrying the authority of countless victories. "I have served the Collective for over 2 centuries. I have led our forces to triumph in 17 major conflicts. But today I must tell you something that may shock you." He paused, his large eyes scanning the chamber. "The Zephyrian Collective places all of our military forces under the command of Admiral Elena Vasquez of the Human Federation." The reaction was immediate and explosive. Representatives leaped to their feet, shouting in dozens of languages. The Abe crystalline delegates chimed in alarm, while the Titan Republic representatives roared their disbelief. "This is madness," shouted General Brutus. "The Zephyrians have the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Why would you subordinate yourselves to the humans?" Thexhai waited for the noise to die down before responding. "Because 27 years ago, a human saved my life. Not just saved it, but risked everything to save it when no one else would. Try. Admiral Vasquez showed me what true courage looks like." "You speak of an ancient debt," called out Ambassador Silk. "Personal obligations have no place in military strategy." "You are wrong," Thexhai replied firmly. "This debt, what we call Filthara, is not just personal. It represents something larger. When the solar flare disabled all our technology, when our people were trapped and dying, the humans did not hesitate. They did not calculate odds or demand payment. They simply acted because it was right." Elena felt her heart racing. She had not expected this. The entire galaxy was staring at her now, some with curiosity, others with disbelief or anger. "The Devourers adapt to our advanced weapons," Thexhai continued. "They learn from our technology and turn it against us. But they have never faced human unpredictability. They have never encountered beings who will risk everything for others without calculation or hope of reward. This is sentiment, not strategy," protested Representative Cole. Is it? Thexai asked. In every battle we have fought together, human forces have achieved results that our computers said were impossible. They do not fight like machines. They do not follow predictable patterns. And most importantly, they never abandon their allies. Elena stood slowly, feeling the weight of hundreds of alien eyes upon her. She thought about her small mining crew from years ago, and how they had followed her into collapsing tunnels without question. She thought about every human ship captain who had ever refused to retreat when others needed help. I accept command, she said simply, but only if every species commits to the same principle that my people follow. We don't leave anyone behind, ever. The chamber erupted again, but this time Elena could hear something different in the voices. Not just fear and anger, but hope. Some of the representatives were actually considering it. The Ethereal Consortium will contribute our support ships to this effort, announced Representative Cole, surprising everyone, including himself. The Trade Federation offers our logistical networks, added Ambassador Silk. One by one, more species began to volunteer their forces. Not all of them. Several delegations stormed out of the chamber in anger or fear, but enough remained to form a real fighting force. As the session ended, Thexai approached Elena privately. Are you certain about this? She asked him. You're risking everything on a debt from nearly 3 decades ago. Thexai's scarred face showed something that might have been a smile. Elena Vasquez, in all my years of warfare, I have learned one truth. Technology can be copied, strategies can be predicted, but courage cannot be manufactured. The Devourers may be able to adapt to our weapons, but they cannot adapt to the human spirit. Elena nodded, feeling the full weight of the galaxy's hope settling on her shoulders. Then let's show them what humans do when someone threatens our friends. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humans decided to repay a favor on a cosmic scale. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the massive Zephyrian command ship Eternal Honor, surrounded by technology that still seemed like magic to her human eyes. Holographic displays showed the positions of over 3,000 ships from 15 different species, all now under her command. It was the largest fleet in galactic history, and she was expected to use it to stop an enemy that had never been defeated. Admiral, came the voice of Commander Thexai from beside her. All fleet commanders are reporting ready. The Devourer advanced scouts are 12 hours from the Proxima relay station. Elena studied the tactical display. The Proxima relay was a massive space station that controlled faster than light communications for half the galaxy. If the Devourers consumed it, entire sectors would be cut off from each other. Show me the previous battle recordings again, she ordered. The hologram shifted to show the Battle of Kepler Station, where a crystalline hegemony fleet had tried to stop the Devourers 3 weeks ago. Elena watched as the elegant crystalline ships fired their beam weapons at the dark, angular Devourer vessels. For a few minutes the weapons worked perfectly, slicing through Devourer hulls like paper. Then something changed. The Devourer ships began to adapt. Their hulls shifted and reformed. Within an hour, the same weapons that had been destroying them were barely scratching their armor. The crystalline fleet was completely consumed. Every battle follows the same pattern, observed Captain Rodriguez, Elena's old mining partner, who now served as her tactical advisor. Our weapons work at first, then they adapt and overwhelm us. That's because everyone fights the same way, Elena said thoughtfully. Advanced weapons, coordinated attacks, logical tactics. The Devourers are machines. They learn patterns and counter them. What do you suggest? Asked Thexai. Our combined technology represents the pinnacle of galactic civilization. Elena smiled, and for a moment Thexai saw the same expression she had worn in those collapsing mine tunnels decades ago. We don't use advanced tactics, she said. We use human tactics. 6 hours later, Elena's plan was in motion. Instead of the usual coordinated fleet engagement, she had split her forces into small mixed-species groups. Each group contained human ships paired with alien vessels, but the humans were giving the orders. Devourer scouts have entered the system, reported the sensor operator. Elena watched as dark shapes appeared at the edge of the Proxima system. There were only 50 of them, but intelligence reports suggested each one could grow into a full battle fleet by consuming local materials. All units begin Operation Chaos, Elena commanded. What happened next went against every principle of space warfare that the galaxy had developed over thousands of years. Instead of maintaining formation, Elena's ship scattered in seemingly random directions. Some appeared to retreat in panic. Others charged the Devourers alone in apparent suicide runs. A few just stopped moving entirely. The Devourer scouts responded, predictably, moving to engage the apparently disorganized fleet. That was when Elena's real plan began. The human ship Defiance allowed itself to be caught by 3 Devourer vessels. As the dark ships began to tear it apart, Captain Chen did something no one had ever tried before. Instead of fighting back or trying to escape, she deliberately crashed her ship into the central Devourer, then detonated every explosive device on board. The Devourer ship was destroyed, but more importantly, it couldn't transmit what had happened to the others. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human crews were using tactics that no computer could predict because they made no logical sense. They were sacrificing valuable ships to destroy single enemies. They were using mining charges as weapons. Some were even ramming enemy vessels with unarmed transport ships. "Admiral," came a worried voice from the Zephyrian communications officer. "We're losing 17 ships in the first hour. This appears to be a disaster." "Wait for it," Elena said calmly. The Devourers were winning, but they were also confused. Their adaptation algorithms were designed to counter repeated tactics, but the human crews weren't repeating anything. Each attack was unique, unpredictable, and often seemingly insane. Then came the second phase. While the Devourers were focused on the chaotic human attacks, the alien ships had been positioning themselves carefully. Zephyrian vessels with their precise weapon systems, crystalline ships with their perfect formations, and ethereal vessels with their advanced shields had formed a coordinated strike force. "All allied units execute Phoenix Protocol," Elena ordered. The organized alien fleet struck the confused Devourers from behind, while human ships continued their unpredictable assault from the front. Caught between chaos and precision, the Devourer scouts were destroyed before they could fully adapt to either tactic. "Impossible," whispered the crystalline observer attached to Elena's command staff. "We actually won a battle against them." "It's not impossible," Elena replied. "It just required thinking differently." Word of the victory at Proxima Relay spread quickly through the galaxy. For the first time since the Devourer invasion began, a major engagement had been won. More species began to volunteer their fleets to Elena's command, but Elena knew the real test was yet to come. The Devourers would adapt to what had happened at Proxima. The next battle would be much harder. She was right. 2 weeks later, at the Battle of the Nebula Gate, the Devourers had learned to counter human unpredictability by splitting their forces and responding to different tactics simultaneously. Elena's casualties were much higher, though she still managed a narrow victory. "They're learning," Thexhai observed after the battle. "Each engagement, they adapt more quickly to our methods." "Then we have to keep changing," Elena replied. "Human tactics work because we never do the same thing twice. We just have to make sure we stay ahead of their learning curve." The war continued for months, with Elena's combined fleet fighting a series of running battles across the galaxy. Sometimes they won decisively, sometimes they barely escaped, but they kept fighting, and more importantly, they kept learning. Elena discovered that different human cultural backgrounds brought different tactical advantages. Former pirates knew how to hit and run. Ex-miners understood explosives and demolition. Military veterans provided discipline and coordination. Each group contributed something unique to the overall strategy. The alien crews began to appreciate human methods even when they didn't fully understand them. A Zephyrian captain would receive orders to create a distraction, and would find himself working alongside a human crew that considered ramming an enemy ship to be a perfectly reasonable distraction. "Admiral," Rodriguez said during a brief rest between battles, "we're holding them back, but barely. Intelligence says the main Devourer fleet is massing for a major assault on the core worlds. When that happens, all our tactics won't matter. They'll just overwhelm us with numbers. Elena nodded grimly. She had been expecting this. The Devourers were done playing games. Their next move would be to commit everything to a final assault that would decide the fate of the galaxy. "How many ships are they bringing?" she asked. "Over 10,000. Maybe more." Elena looked out at her own fleet. Even with all the reinforcements from new species joining their cause, she had less than 5,000 ships, and many of those were damaged from previous battles. "Then we'll have to find a way to even the odds," she said simply. HFY approached her later that day with a grim expression. "Elena, I have something to tell you. Our deep intelligence networks have discovered the location of the Devourer Prime." The what? The original intelligence. The first machine that began this plague millions of years ago. Our analysts believe that if it were destroyed, the entire Devourer network would collapse. Elena felt a spark of hope. "Where is it?" "In the Void Sector, protected by the main Devourer fleet. Reaching it would require passing through the heart of their forces, then navigating a collapsing hyperspace corridor that leads to their origin point." The hope died in Elena's chest. "A suicide mission?" "Yes," HFY said quietly. "But perhaps the only way to save the galaxy." Elena stared out at the stars, thinking about mining tunnels and impossible rescues. Sometimes the only way forward was through the darkest, most dangerous path. "How many ships would we need for the mission?" she asked. "Our best estimates suggest a minimum of 500 vessels, all of them lost in the process." Elena nodded, slowly. She was already planning the assault in her mind, calculating odds and probabilities. But she knew that when the time came, success would depend not on calculations, but on the same quality that had driven her into those collapsing tunnels decades ago: pure human determination to never leave anyone behind. The war room aboard the Eternal Honor had become Elena's second home over the past year of fighting. Star charts covered every surface, showing the steady advance of the Devourer main fleet toward the galaxy's core worlds. Intelligence reports painted a grim picture. Over 12,000 enemy vessels moving in perfect coordination, consuming everything in their path. Elena stood at the central holotable with her senior commanders. HFY's cybernetic arm gleamed under the lights as he manipulated the display, showing the hyperspace corridor that led to the Devourer Prime. "The corridor is collapsing," explained Chief Science Officer Velhai, HFY's daughter who had joined the fleet 6 months ago. "Our calculations show it has maybe 72 hours before it closes permanently. After that, the Devourer Prime will be unreachable." "And if we don't reach it?" asked Captain Rodriguez. "The main fleet will hit the core worlds in 96 hours, HFY replied grimly. "We estimate complete galactic consumption within 6 months." Elena studied the tactical display showing the narrow window of opportunity. The hyperspace corridor was surrounded by the heaviest concentration of Devourer forces anyone had ever seen. Getting through would require a miracle. "How many ships do we have ready for combat?" she asked. 4,200, came the reply from Admiral Keth of the Crystalline Hegemony, but half are damaged from previous engagements. Elena ran the numbers in her head. Even if every ship in her fleet was perfect condition, they were still outnumbered 3-1, and they would have to fight through the enemy formation, send a strike force into the collapsing corridor, and somehow destroy a target that had survived for millions of years. "I'll lead the strike force," Elena announced. "No." The word came from HFY with such force that everyone in the room turned to look at him. "Admiral, with respect, this is my debt to pay. HFY, you're needed here to coordinate the main fleet." Elena. The use of her first name surprised her. In all their years of military cooperation, HFY had always maintained formal protocol. "You saved my life 28 years ago. You showed me what honor truly means. The Velthara debt belongs to me and my people." Elena saw something in his eyes that she remembered from that first day in the collapsed mine. The same determination, the same willingness to do whatever was necessary. "The corridor mission requires specific skills," HFY continued. "Zephyrian, Technology is best suited for navigating hyperspace anomalies. Our ships can survive longer in the collapsing environment. How many vessels would you need? Elena asked, though she already knew she wouldn't like the answer. 800 ships minimum, all volunteers, none expected to return. The room fell silent. 800 ships represented nearly 20% of Elena's total fleet, all of them crewed by volunteers who knew they were flying to their deaths. I'll ask for volunteers, Elena said finally. You won't need to ask, HFY replied. Every Zephyrian crew has already volunteered. We are not the only ones who remember what humans did for us. The debt belongs to all of us. Over the next 24 hours, Elena watched in amazement as ship after ship requested permission to join the suicide mission. Not just Zephyrians, but crystalline vessels, ethereal scouts, even some of the proud Titan Republic battleships. Species that had once considered humans primitive were now volunteering to die alongside the beings who had taught them about true courage. Elena found herself alone with HFY on the observation deck as the volunteer fleet assembled. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see hundreds of ships moving into formation. Each one carried crews who had accepted that they would not survive the next 72 hours. I should be going with you, Elena said. No, your place is here coordinating the main fleet. When we destroy the Devourer Prime, their network will collapse, but individual ships may still be dangerous. The galaxy will need Admiral Elena Vasquez to finish this war. HFY. Elena struggled with words. What you're doing, it's beyond any debt. You know that, right? The tall alien was quiet for a long moment, his large eyes reflecting the starlight. Elena, do you remember what you said to me in those tunnels? When I asked why you risked your lives for us? We don't leave people behind. Yes, and now the entire galaxy is our people. How could we leave them behind? Elena felt tears threatening and pushed them back. There would be time for grief later if any of them survived. The strike fleet is ready, came Rodriguez's voice over the communication system. All volunteers are in position. Elena and HFY made their way to the docking bay where a shuttle waited to take him to his flagship. The corridors were lined with human and alien crew members who had come to see off the volunteers. There were no speeches or ceremonies. Everyone understood what was happening. At the shuttle, HFY paused and extended his good hand to Elena. It has been an honor serving with you, Admiral. Elena took his hand, surprised by the warmth of his blue skin. The honor was mine, Commander, from the very first day. Tell my daughter, HFY started, then stopped. Tell her that debts of honor are never really paid. They become gifts freely given. Elena nodded, not trusting her voice. The strike fleet launched 6 hours later. Elena watched from the bridge as 800 vessels formed up around HFY's flagship, the Honor's Edge. They moved out of the main fleet formation like a spear aimed at the heart of the enemy. The battle began 18 hours into the mission. Long-range sensors showed the strike fleet engaging the outer Devourer formations. Elena's remaining forces moved to support them, fighting desperately to clear a path to the hyperspace corridor. Strike fleet has broken through the first defensive line, reported the sensor operator. They're taking heavy casualties but maintaining formation. Elena watched the tactical display as friendly contacts began disappearing. Each vanishing light represented hundreds of crew members who had volunteered to die so that others might live. Second defensive line engaged, came another update. Strike fleet down to 600 vessels. The fighting continued for 36 hours. Elena's main fleet fought with desperate fury, throwing everything they had at the Devourer forces to keep the corridor approach clear. Human crews pushed their ships beyond safe limits. Alien captains attempted maneuvers that their computers labeled impossible. Strike fleet has reached the corridor, came the report Elena had been waiting for. 412 vessels entering hyperspace. Elena felt her heart pounding. They had made it further than anyone had dared hope. Then came the final transmission from HFY himself, his voice calm despite the chaos around him. Admiral Vasquez, this is Commander HFY. We are entering the final approach to the Devourer Prime. The corridor is collapsing faster than expected. We have perhaps 20 minutes. Elena gripped the command chair. Understood, Commander. Good luck, Elena. Again, the use of her first name. Thank you. For everything. For showing us what friendship means. The communication went silent. For the next 18 minutes, Elena's fleet continued fighting the main Devourer force, holding their attention while the strike fleet made its final approach. No more transmissions came from the corridor. Then, at exactly 14 minutes and 37 seconds after Thexhi's last transmission, every Devourer ship in the galaxy simply stopped. They didn't power down gradually. They didn't attempt to retreat. They just froze in space like puppets whose strings had been cut. All Devourer vessels have gone inactive, reported the sensor operator in amazement. I'm reading complete system shutdowns across the entire enemy fleet. Elena sank into her command chair, finally allowing herself to believe it. They had done it. Thexhi and his volunteers had actually destroyed the Devourer Prime, ending the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. But the cost had been terrible. 800 ships and their entire crews were gone, along with the finest military commander Elena had ever known. The debt had been paid in full, but the price felt too high. Admiral, came Velhi's voice, quiet with grief. My father's sacrifice saved us all. Elena looked at the young Zephyrian officer, seeing Thexhi's determined eyes in her face. Your father was the bravest being I ever knew. He taught us all what real honor looks like. Around them, the bridge crew began to cheer as reports came in of Devourer fleets going inactive throughout the galaxy. The war was over. They had won. But Elena felt only the weight of loss and the knowledge that some victories cost more than anyone should have to pay. 5 years had passed since the end of the Devourer War. Admiral Elena Vasquez, now retired from active military service, stood at the podium in the great assembly hall of the Terran Zephyrian Memorial Academy. Before her sat 300 graduating cadets from dozens of different species, all wearing the same uniform regardless of whether they breathed oxygen, methane, or pure energy. The Academy floated in orbit around New Haven, a planet that had been jointly terraformed by human and Zephyrian engineers as a symbol of their alliance. Through the great transparent dome above the assembly hall, Elena could see the memorial gardens where 800 monuments honored the crew members who had died in the final assault on the Devourer Prime. Today you graduate not just as officers, Elena began, her voice carrying easily through the hall's advanced acoustics, but as guardians of something precious. You are the living proof that different species can work together, learn from each other, and protect one another. In the front row sat Sub-Commander Velhi, Thexhi's daughter, who now served as the Academy's Zephyrian commandant. Her blue skin bore the same ritual scars her father had worn, but her forearms moved with a grace that spoke of both Zephyrian precision and human adaptability. Elena's eyes moved over the graduating class. There was Cadet Morrison, a human whose grandparents had been miners on distant worlds. Beside him sat Cadet Thelak, a young Zephyrian who had requested assignment to the most dangerous patrol routes. 2 seats over, Cadet Crystal Song hummed softly in the harmonic language of the ethereal consortium. Your instructors have taught you advanced tactics, stellar navigation, and xenobiology, Elena continued. But the most important lesson you should have learned here is simpler than any of that. We don't leave people behind. Ever. The words had become the Academy's unofficial motto, carved in stone at the entrance in 17 different languages. Elena had spoken them so many times that they felt like a prayer. Some of you will serve on exploration vessels, making first contact with new species. Some will join the patrol fleet, keeping the trade routes safe. Others will work in planetary defense, protecting colonies from natural disasters and hostile forces. Elena paused, looking directly at several cadets who she knew had already received assignment orders to the rim sectors. But wherever you serve, remember that your strength comes not from your weapons or your technology. It comes from your willingness to risk everything for others, even when those others are different from you. The ceremony continued with the traditional presentation of rank insignia. Elena watched as each cadet stepped forward to receive their new officer's bars from either herself or Velhi. Human hands and alien appendages shook in friendship, as the next generation of galactic peacekeepers accepted their responsibilities. After the formal ceremony ended, Elena walked through the memorial gardens with Velhai. The monuments were beautiful, in their simplicity, each one a crystal pillar that glowed with the life sign of the crew member it honored. The Zephyrian monuments pulsed with blue light, while human memorials glowed warm yellow. Other species were represented by their own colors and patterns. "Sometimes I wonder what my father would think of all this," Velhai said as they stopped before the largest monument, a towering crystal that honored Thexhai himself. "He would be proud," Elena replied without hesitation. "He always said the debt could never truly be repaid, only passed forward. Look what you've all built here." The academy was more than just a military school. It had become a symbol of cooperation between species that had once viewed each other with suspicion. Human engineering worked alongside Zephyrian technology. Crystalline mathematics enhanced ethereal philosophy. Titan strength protected Trade Federation commerce routes. Elena's personal communicator chimed softly. She glanced at the message and smiled. "More trouble?" Velhai asked. "New colony ship requesting escort to the Andromeda sector," Elena replied. "Mixed crew of humans, Zephyrians, and 3 other species. They want to establish a research outpost near an unexplored nebula. Dangerous work." "The best kind," Elena said, already planning the mission in her head. "Captain Chen's frigate group can provide escort. They're experienced with long-range exploration." Even in retirement, Elena found herself coordinating missions for the volunteer fleet that had grown out of the wartime alliance. Officially, she was just an advisor. Unofficially, ship captains throughout the galaxy still looked to her for guidance when facing difficult decisions. "Elena," Velhai said as they continued walking, "I've received some interesting communications from the outer rim surveys." "Oh?" "They've detected artificial signals from beyond the galactic edge. Not devourer technology, something new." Elena felt a familiar stirring in her chest. The same feeling she had experienced in mine tunnels and on battleship bridges when faced with impossible challenges. "Hostile?" she asked. "Unknown. The signals are complex, possibly indicating high intelligence, but they're coming from a region where several survey ships have gone missing over the past year." Elena nodded thoughtfully. The galaxy had enjoyed 5 years of peace, but she had always known it wouldn't last forever. There were too many unknowns in the vast darkness between stars. "What did the survey teams recommend?" she asked. "First contact protocols, naturally, but given the missing ships, they're requesting military escort." "How many species are involved in the survey mission?" 7, so far, with more volunteering each day. "It seems word has spread that this might be significant." Elena smiled at that. 5 years ago, such a mission would have been dominated by 1 or 2 major powers, with others excluded or treated as junior partners. Now, the natural response was cooperation. They reached the Academy's main administration building where Elena's transport was waiting. She had promised to attend a dinner celebrating the graduation, but first she wanted to review the Outer Rim reports. "Velhai," she said as they parted ways, "if this new contact turns out to be a problem, we'll handle it the same way we always do. Together. Together. And we'll make sure everyone comes home." As Elena's transport lifted off from the Academy's landing pad, she looked down at the memorial gardens one more time. The crystal monuments glowed in the setting sun, a reminder of the price that had been paid for the galaxy's current peace. Her communicator chimed again. This time it was a message from Captain Rodriguez, now commanding the exploration vessel New Frontier. "Admiral, we've got confirmation on those outer rim signals. Whatever's out there, it's big and it's definitely artificial. Request permission to investigate with full diplomatic protocols." Elena smiled and typed back her response. "Permission granted. But Rodriguez, take backup. And remember the first rule. Never leave anyone behind," came the immediate reply. "Understood, Admiral. See you on the other side." Elena settled back in her seat as the transport headed toward the surface. Below her, the lights of New Haven cities twinkled like stars. each one representing thousands of beings from different worlds, living and working together in peace. It had taken a mining accident, a galactic war, and the sacrifice of heroes to build this cooperation. But Elena knew it was worth protecting, whatever the cost. Her communicator showed 17 more messages from ship captains requesting assignment to the Outer Rim mission. Humans, Zephyrians, crystallines, ethereals, and species she had never heard of 5 years ago. All of them volunteering to face the unknown together. Elena began composing her response to the mission coordinators. The galaxy had learned to work as one family, and like any family, they would face whatever came next side by side. After all, that was what friends did for each other. They showed up when needed, they faced danger together, and they never ever left anyone behind. The transport. Touched down at Elena's home, a modest house overlooking a lake where human fish swam alongside Zephyrian water plants. As she walked to her front door, Elena could see the lights of the academy in the distance where tomorrow's graduates would learn the same lessons that had saved the galaxy. Some debts, she thought, really were meant to be paid forward forever. Her communicator chimed one more time. The message was from an unknown contact, but the heading made her pause. Greetings from the far shore. We come seeking those who honor debts. Elena smiled and began typing her response. The galaxy was about to learn once again why humans always repaid their favors, and why making friends with humanity was always the right choice. No matter how far or how strange, someone was about to discover that humans never forgot their friends and never left anyone behind.